right, folks, welcome to Holy Babe, the podcast where I, Trevor Chavez, a local Bakersfield comedian, try and get my girlfriend into the wonderful world of professional wrestling through old WWE Attitude Era wrestling. Well, that's usually what it is. Today, it's a special episode and a bonus treat, but before I get into that, say hello, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah, how have you been enjoying the journey so far on our wrestling journey here?
It's been good. I think, the episode that we're going to be talking about today is not very great.
Yeah, I guess I might as well get into this. I want to apologize to you for the fact that I made you watch this episode. I've been doing pretty well curating what we've been watching so far, but unfortunately with this, I was told by many websites that this was what we're watching today is WCW's Bash at the Beach 1996, which I was told was one of the better pay-per-views in WCW history for historical reasons and for wrestling matches. And we watched it, and I found out very quickly that was maybe not the case.
It just was not very entertaining, and like the crowd was definitely like weird, and yeah, I don't know, it just dragged.
Yeah, it did kind of, but on the other hand, I do have to thank you because of us watching this pay-per-view. I realized, and I brought this up to you like immediately after we finished watching it. I realized something about myself that for years I had kind of lived under this like weird reverse delusion that I had let my own friends nag me into becoming a WWF fan, and I had actually started a WCW fan, and like if I just not bend to the will of like the masses, maybe I would have stuck with the indie rock cool WCW. But no, I realized very quickly in this pay-per-view that was not the case. I made the right choice.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you knew what you were missing.
I mean,
first.
Right? No, I mean there were a few good wrestlers on the roster, like there is with this, and we'll go into it a little bit. But like, yeah, I'm just realizing that a lot of that there really wasn't that much of a difference, and I guess the best way I can describe it for those people who aren't wrestling fans, imagine in the war between Coke and Pepsi, if Pepsi just decided to use Coke's old recipe with like one secret ingredient, and like that's essentially what WCW was doing. It was a bunch of old WWF wrestlers and then like a couple of guys thrown in.
Right, and like the good ones that were younger that like maybe didn't start at whatever, I get them confused. The other one, I feel like they made it over to WF.
Right.
WWF?
Correct. The WWF. Exactly.
Also, this shows my age, just going to say. I mean, WCW makes me think of Woman Crush Wednesday every time you say it.
That is low-key hilarious. But yeah, at this time, it meant World Championship Wrestling, which was the competitor to the WWF that was bought out by Ted Turner in the 80s, because Ted Turner seems to be one of those eccentric billionaires who just loves competing with other billionaires. Like that seems to be one of the things he lives for, which is like seems to be why he made CNN and why he bought WCW, is just because he wants to prove that he's better at all of this than all of the other billionaires. Which I mean, where have you gone, Ted Turner? Where have you gone?
I'm not even sure I know who that is.
He's again, he was a prominent figure during the mid-90s. He was I can't even remember how he made his money. I probably should have looked it up before this episode. Yeah, he owned, at this point, he owned the Atlanta Braves. He owned TBS and TNT, which the names were Turner Broadcast Service and Turner Network Television.
Oh, I didn't know that's what that stood for. But also that makes sense why like wrestling would come on after Charms sometimes.
Yep, because he owned both, and he's like, yeah, put the wrestling on, because it was a built-in deal when he bought it, which was obviously a great thing for him. And then what was the third thing that I'm trying to remember that he owned? Oh, CNN.
Right. That's what you said. So he wasn't like an actor or anything though.
No, he was married to Jane Fonda though.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. So he hung out with a lot of actors and a lot of Hollywood elites, and he was kind of leaned liberal, but he was definitely a Southerner through and through. So Ted Turner was always an interesting character. I don't know. We may catch. I'm gonna have to see if we do catch the eventual billionaire Ted sketches that WWF did to, or maybe we may have passed them. But at one point, WWF actually did these sketches, or promos, I should say, on Raw that were billionaire Ted, and they were making fun of Ted and the rest of the WWF roster, or WCW roster, excuse me, saying that they were a bunch of fucking washed up has-beens and old dudes, and just making fun of Hogan and Macho Man and Ted.
Okay, that's interesting.
But getting back to the reason we decided to watch this one is I wanted Sarah to see kind of what would become the kickoff of all of this and the kickoff of the Monday Night Wars, because it was after this pay-per-view that WCW began its, I believe, 82-week straight run of beating the WWF in the Nielsen ratings. So this began what a lot of the WWF superstars refer to a period of WCW was taking their lunch money every week.
I wonder why, because I don't know, and maybe it's because back then the bar wasn't so high, and so we were just bored watching WCW because it just wasn't that interesting. And
well, I think it was because it really was driven by stars, because Hogan was such a massive figure, and then he had really burned out, and then all of a sudden they rejuvenated him. I mean, we'll see it at the end of the match, but I think you remember from the first time, people lost their minds, both ways. What is going on? Hogan is turning heel. This is crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, might as well. If you're ready, you want to just jump into it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and break it down. So we did kind of notice as we were both watching this that the bash at the beach, the whole intro, they do the kind of very dramatic replaying of tape, but there's no voiceover. I'm trying to wonder what are they trying to tell us? If they're just leaving it to you. I'm kind of fascinated by that, but also did somebody just forget to do their job?
It's flashbacks.
Yeah, it's weird flashbacks from your dream sequences. You're just remembering this through a half remembered haze. But yeah, this is WCW's annual summer pay-per-view from Daytona Beach, Florida. Which, as I think I told you when we were watching this, the joke amongst WWF fans, if you wanted to make fun of WCWs, you called it WCW.
Right.
And tried to, kind of turn your nose up at as the Southern wrestling.
The other one wasn't Southern?
WWF was based out of Stamford, Connecticut, and their main hub, their main claim to fame was the fact that Vince's dad was the wrestling promoter, essentially the wrestling promoter for Madison Square Garden.
Oh,
that's where the WWF's home. Well, excuse me, the WWF when he ran it, that was their home base, was Madison Square Garden, and because a lot of the magazines ran out of New York, that's why they got so big.
That's so random. I feel like.
Yeah, sometimes it's just luck of the draw who gets what territory. But yeah, the Connecticut just kind of branched out and took over New York, and they that's how they hit the ground running. And well, that's how the seeds were planted for Vince, just as you found, to be a dick and take over everything.
Right.
But yeah, so as far as the commentators go, dude on the right, if you guys are watching along at home, although don't worry guys, we're not going to watch the whole thing because again, we get bored at certain points during these matches. But dude on the right that you saw, bigger guy in the black suit, that's Dusty Rhodes, the famous, or now WWF Hall of Famer, known as the American Dream.
So was he a wrestler before this?
Yes, he was a wrestler
and
before
now he's
this.
commentating for WCW.
Right, exactly, because WCW was giving him a job at this point. His son Cody Rhodes is now in the WWF.
Oh, okay, right.
But yeah, now guys, what we have coming up is a sweet little luchador match between Psychosis and Rey Mysterio Jr. Again, another future WWF Hall of Famer.
I think we were talking, we appreciated that they gave them more time, but I don't know, it got to be a little much. This went on for a while.
Yeah, it's I think it's because it's one of those things where because the crowd's not getting into it, it seems to drag. If if these guys had more of a history or more of a story, and you knew what was going on, then maybe like, oh yeah, give them this much time. But for me, being a fan of just the technical, well, not the technical wrestling, the skill of luchador wrestling, I dug it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I like we've talked about. I like when they jump around.
The one thing I do have to say about like, because well, Rey Mysterio, his for a luchador, not that crazy. I mean, this is pretty standard issue. I was a little surprised to see that he really took he took the whole Mysterio thing so literally at this point in his career.
Yeah, with the question marks.
Yeah, there are a lot of question marks on his tights. And I was just, oh, okay, we're going that route. I didn't realize he was taking it that literal at that point. Although, what did you when you first saw Psychosis, his opponent? What did you think he looked like?
I mean, he definitely looks like a transformer or something, but I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. His horns are kind of trippy looking if you stare at him too long. I think it's also how the old film looks, but it looks like weird sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The first time I saw him, I was like, "What is he doing? What is going on with those horns?" Because it's not like, folks, it's not like devil horns where they're like on the top of his head. It's like buffalo horns on the side of his head.
Especially with his hair, it really looks like buffalo now.
Oh, absolutely,
that you say that.
absolutely. The dude, from my perspective, or what my opinion is, dude looks like a Mega Man villain. Like his name should be like, or like he's a henchman for Blizzard Buffalo or something.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because it's like all white.
Oh, exactly. I think fans who hear this later as a bonus episode, remind me what Mega Man game Blizzard Buffalo was in. I believe it was one of the Mega Man X games for Super Nintendo. Were you enjoying the many holds and like acrobatics that, or I should say, like holds and borderline submission moves that they were trying to do during the match?
Yeah, I feel like they look pretty realistic. Yeah.
All right, because I know that usually when it gets to like the holds and like dudes acting like someone's trying to pull their arm out of their socket, you're usually not buying it.
Yeah, I feel like they're not super over the top though, and like that looks actually uncomfortable. Like, yeah, I think it's a big thing though, is because it's not like super over the top. Like, isn't there a guy in this one, or is it in another episode we watched, where he's like a cartoon character?
Oh, I think that was when we were the last episode we watched with Sal Sincere.
Yeah,
the dude in the purple, or not purple, the like hot pink tights.
I think so.
Who like his eyes were going crossed and his tongue was sticking out every time he punched him.
Yeah, that was just too much.
Yeah, that is an oversell of, like you said, cartoonish proportions.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, good to know you're not a fan of the oversell.
No, I just think it's lame.
No, I'm there with you. There are even certain big name wrestlers who I think oversell, and once we get to like that point, I'll definitely point it out to you. Like, I don't know, I think he's overselling on this one. That's a little much. Really, an extra flip after he gets hit.
Right.
Like that's usually what you'll hear me say. But yeah, these again, it's there's a couple times during this pay-per-view where I'm disappointed in the crowd, because like Rey Mysterio is just, he's bouncing off the middle rope and
super gymnastics, like,
and the crowd's just like, oh wow, that was a reckless suicide dive. So yeah, Psychosis, and I'm sure the commentators right now are saying like, that's why his name is Psychosis. Because he just made a reckless jump out of the ring and barreled into Rey Mysterio, but thankfully they both made a pretty good controlled fall.
Yeah, but they still hit the railings, and like he just went for it.
Oh, absolutely! Like they definitely both like felt that, but that could have gone so much worse.
Yeah, I definitely feel like what they're doing is a little more like realistic.
Now I know. Okay, so like that may I'm thinking now. Okay, is your first wrestling match? Am I going to take you to an actual WWE event, or would it be easier / more fun for me to take you to San Diego and take you to a fucking luchador match?
That could be cool. I could be into that second one.
Try and see if I can find who the heir to Mil Mascara's throne is. He was this old Mexican wrestler that my mom and aunt loved, and they called him Mil Máscaras because he was the man of 1,000 masks, and he would come to every single match. It would be a similar theme, but it would be a different color every time.
That's interesting.
So he was like that chick that never wore the same thing
Twice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
That was his whole thing. And I think he always had, like, he would come out with, like, a sport coat or something on, and, like, he was always, like, you know, his like, butler or valet was always a dude in a tux, and, like, you know, he was always very high-class looking. So I think that was very much the, like, I never wear the same mask twice.
Right. That's interesting. That's fun.
Oh yeah, it was a fun little gimmick, especially for, you know, if that's your thing, and like that I would say, I guess maybe he was like the Mexican Ric Flair, you know, the originator of Latino swag.
Maybe.
So the one thing I do have to say, looking at Psychosis, and I have to ask you what your opinion is. Do you think that's all his hair?
It kind of looks wiggy, but I bet it's his hair because, like, I don't know. I just have to assume
It's a lot.
it could be attached to the mask. Actually,
That's the only that's why I'm questioning it. Just there's so much of it.
yeah, it could be. There could be a couple options.
Like if it is his, that mad props. that is a thick and luxurious mane, my guy. That is something to be proud of.
Do you not know what he looks like?
Honestly, Psychosis, I think he only wrestled WCW, so I didn't really, like, I don't think, if he did, like, go over to the WWF, it was maybe, like, right for 1 year, right after the merger happened. But yeah, I think he was primarily, I know he was primarily a WCW guy. I'm not sure if he came over to the WWF at any point, so.
So you didn't give a fuck about him?
Yeah, because, I mean, I never heard about him winning the cruiserweight title, which is usually what they put the guys this size in. So I never really I never had a reason to give a shit.
Do you think the audience isn't into it because they're racist?
Oh God, it is Daytona Beach, so yeah, that could. Oh wow. So folks, the reason I said oh wow is because we got into the point where. This is a technical term here I'm about to say, Sarah, where Rey Mysterio Jr. monkey flips Psychosis into the post. So that could be, you know, that could be some seriously heavy damage, but they did it very well.
Well, there was that extra post there for the next match with that stupid gimmick.
Oh God,
that's why that extra post is there. And that's what he hit.
Oh yeah, that's what he probably used that to make it hit. And honestly,
I think he actually hit his face.
But see, that's yeah. If he did, it's one of those things, unfortunately, where like you hit and it hurts, but it doesn't actually look like it did. So it's like the reverse of what you want it to be. I feel like a lot of wrestling things are kind of like the way the Jackass guys refer to their stunts. Like they always say, a great stunt is one where it looks like it hurts, but it actually doesn't.
Yeah, obviously that's the best, but I think most of theirs probably hurt.
Yeah, I think that last one where he hit the post, like that hurt a little bit, but it didn't
I meant
look
Jackass, but yeah.
Oh yeah. But what do those guys say that the worst ones are the ones that don't look like they hurt that much, but are actually really painful.
Those are the what?
Those are the ones that are like they hate doing those.
Oh yeah.
Like they hate doing those on camera because they're like, great, that one doesn't look that good on camera, but it hurts so bad. Right. Why did we do that?
Cost benefit's not the best.
So, is there kind of last thoughts that you have regarding this match? Because again, this one does run a little long.
It's good. It's fun to watch, but it's kind of weird because like the crowd seems so bored, so it like makes your brain, I don't know, not like it as much. I feel like almost, but it's good. Right.
No, I feel the same way. Like I really like seeing him go, and I love seeing Rey Mysterio go for it because he's just a young dude at this point. But again, I feel so bad for him that the crowd is just not that into it.
I know, and they're putting so much into it. A 20+ minute match, that's pretty long, right?
Oh yeah. For a luchador match in a pay-per-view, absolutely.
So I mean, I think it's nice that the WCW is giving them time, unlike the WWF.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the opening match. They're expecting these two guys to like get the crowd going and get them into
work.
It. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I wish they did, but
well, and I guess that's why the WWF doesn't give time properly, which is just sad.
Oh, exactly. That's why, like I said in our first episode, that's why when they put the luchadors out there, they also sent Sonny out there because they're like, give them something to look at.
So is all wrestling just racist?
So Not necessarily, but a lot of the gimmicks are. I mean, it's all based off of what gets the biggest crowd reaction, and you either want to play towards people's like secret dreams or secret fears. You want to tap into that. You either want to, get them something to cheer for or like something to be angry about. And yeah, a lot of times working the race angle does it.
Right.
Sometimes, it's a roadblock because it's like, oh, they aren't giving the poor guys a chance. But other times it's something you can work. Like, there's a reason that for a long time, all of the dudes that had an Arab or an Eastern European gimmick were always villains.
Yeah. I mean, should we be promoting that?
I mean, it's all about the stories that you want to be a part of and that you want to tell, or I don't know. For me, it's always about like, okay, how good is the character? Is the character, because if the character is just this like very hacky like racial dog whistle, I'm not going to pay attention.
Right.
But if you really put some effort into it, then yeah, it's great. Because even the Iron Sheik, like, yeah, he came out with a kafaya on and like said America Patui and like did all this like crazy borderline race baiting stuff. On the other hand, he was wild, scary, and would come out to the ring with clubs and like threaten to bite dudes' ears off. So he had there were many facets to his villainy, if you will.
Right.
So I guess that's when I'm okay with it. When it's not just like, oh, you're just trying to play up to the racist crowd. No, you got to go multiple angles with it.
I do like, what's his name, the announcer?
Oh, Mean Gene Okerlund. Mean Gene is actually a legend in the business. He was with the WWF for a long time, and this was one of the guys that WCW hired away.
Oh, okay. He's like, I feel like everyone knows like his voice.
Yep.
Like the "Let's get ready."
Oh no, that's Michael Buffer, the ring announcer. The guy that you were looking at, that's Mean Gene Okerlund, who was a long time, I guess, ringside commentator or play-by-play guy. He was always doing the interviews.
Oh, okay.
You'd always hear, Hulk Hogan going, "Let me tell you something, Mean Gene."
Right.
But yeah, now coming with the next match is between Big Bubba, accompanied by his manager Jimmy Hart, also known as the Mouth of the South. This is Jimmy Hart's another legendary manager, which tells you like how hard they were trying to get Big Bubba over. That they gave him to Jimmy Hart, like, hey Jimmy, see what you can do with him, man. This guy ain't doing shit on his own. Nor would he. Big Bubba would go on to be the big boss man in the WWF. And I'm not going to try and say, like, oh, let's see what he becomes. He's trash the whole time. He's not good. He's not fucking good. I'll just say it now. And if anyone wants to at me or fucking come at me for saying big boss man it sucks, I don't care. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty well-known fact that he's not good.
I mean, this match wasn't very good.
I think it's Big John Tirana or something. I can't remember. It's a dude with, I think it's fair to say he's got a skullet.
What would you say is a skullet?
Bald on top with long hair.
I mean, yeah. No, and it's half of his head is long hair.
Oh, gee, it's what the hell? It's a half skullet. It's like a weird two-face, so only like half of his head is entirely shaved, and the other half of his head is a skullet. I did not realize that. Big John Tanada, folks, that's the name of the wrestler.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, it is. Wow. I don't even know. I can't even figure out what his gimmick is other than he's big and nuts. Like, that's got to be like it, because that's the only thing I can think is because if you saw a man like that in a bar, you're like, I'm staying away from that.
Yeah,
he's out of his mind.
Yeah, he seems like a weird dude.
He fights people for fun for no reason. If he hears you saying something about a squirrel, he'll try and fight you.
Right, and he got that full mustache.
Oh my God, he is a madman. Oh God, and his chest is so friggin' hairy. Oh, he's just a mess of a human being. Okay, so folks, now what we forgot to mention in this match is that the gimmick of this match, because if for those of you who want to talk trash about how many gimmicks there were in the gimmicks or stipulations, whatever you want to call them, in WWF matches in the mid '90s, WCW at one of their crowning pay-per-views has a match where on the top of a pole attached to one of the posts at the ring is ostensibly a roll of quarters and a sock.
Yep.
I mean, it's
maybe silver dollars.
They say it's silver dollars, but let's face it, folks. It's ostensibly a roll of quarters and a sock. And I don't think they ever explained it at any point. I don't know. We still can't figure out if the point was that you have to hit them with the roll of quarters and a sock first before you can pin them, or if it's just there as a weapon.
I don't know. I just know you have to get it before you win.
Okay, so it must be that you have to get it and then hit them with it.
I think so.
Because then otherwise, why would it be there?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but I guess there's a certain logic to it.
Yeah.
Like, like bad horror movies. Because, oh my God, just two dudes just kind of throwing each other around that aren't really that good, trying to hit each other with a roll of quarters and a sock. I don't know what else to say about this one.
Yeah, that sums it up.
This is one of the two matches where I legitimately felt bad, and I was the reason I had to apologize for putting you through this. Because, oh, dear God.
Yeah, it just seemed like two fat guys, like, pushing each other around.
Yeah. You've heard me make fun of Vince and his love of big freaking massive dudes.
That's different than what these guys are.
Yeah, these are just fat dudes.
Yeah.
These are just fat guys. But you know what? For all of that, I did get to see Jimmy Hart dangle from a pole and do his Jimmy Hart, goofy heel managing thing. So that was a fun moment. But even more so, like, yes, we had to deal with the horror of this match. But the upside is that immediately following this match, I got a smile put on my face because we get ourselves a Macho Man Randy Savage promo.
Right.
Which I'll go ahead and ask Sarah. I know you didn't get to hear a lot of it. But what did you think of the first time that you got to hear the Macho Man really get into it?
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of feelings towards it. Wasn't it the one where he wasn't making like any sense?
He was. I mean, he. It was all very generic stuff. The one thing that I was a little surprised by was the fact that he doesn't even face the camera half the time.
Yeah, I just felt like very confused about this whole thing.
Yeah, he's just kind of like he's clearly very jazzed up and into it.
And on a lot of coke.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably the coke he did in the back room. I think all these guys probably.
Look at his fucking eyes and mouth.
Yeah, he's totally. Yeah, he has been.
As he paces.
Oh God, and yeah, the way he's like, his mouth is moving. He's almost licking his lips. Like, yeah, he's yacked up right now. But again, makes for a good Macho Man promo, I think.
If it made sense.
Because this is the energy he had all the time, but you just see it very clearly. Like, oh yeah, he's definitely been doing some lines of that stripper salt. Sting, on the other hand, very, very calm and collected in it.
Yeah, they seem normal.
I don't know. Luger's twitching a little bit. The guy on the right, he might have done one with.
Yeah, his eyes are a little big, but
Yeah.
it also could be the painting making his eyes look all weird.
Valid. But I do feel like Luger, like Macho, was like, "Come on, Lex, let's do a line," and Lex was like, "All right, I'll do one. Yeah, brother, let's go." But yeah, Macho Man is like looking off in the distance, like he's doing this interview or this promo like he doesn't know where the camera is. Like he's doing it he's doing the promo directly to Mean Gene.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, and then next up we have a Lord of the Ring match, taped fist match And this is, let me check my notes and see if I remember. This is between.
Future guy.
This is between Diamond Dallas Page, again, future great in both WCW and WWF, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So, Sarah, what did you think of Diamond Dallas Page as we see him walk up to the ring?
Seems like a fun guy. He doesn't really I think that was the thing with all of these is they don't really get my attention too much. But I mean, he seems cool.
Oh yeah, DDP. This is early on for him. I will admit, in my brief foray into WCW and probably even further. Well, I'll just say this: DDP was my favorite WCW wrestler.
Really?
Oh yeah, he had a great energy about him. Was just really fun to watch.
I always like someone confident enough to just have a cigar in the room.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm pretty sure he didn't keep that part of the gimmick going the whole time, but he definitely was very, very charismatic. Very I'm gonna do my own thing, fuck you, sort of thing. But
yeah,
very cool about it. Not quite as aggressive as Stone Cold was with it.
Yeah, he seems more chill.
All right, so coming out next to the ring is Hacksaw Jim Duggan, a legend. And Sarah, I don't know how I forgot that this guy had a patriotic gimmick. Because, I mean, clearly, as you see, the guy comes out waving a friggin' American flag.
Yeah, he's pretty hardcore patriotic, I'd say.
I don't know how I missed that. I remember the 2x4. There's no way you don't notice the 2x4. But yeah, I don't know how I missed the patriotic gimmick. And I guess I'm a little confused why they're using the patriotic gimmick against Diamond Dallas Page, why this was a rivalry at one point.
Is the other guy, is he not a babyface?
No, he's a heel at this point. I guess he's just supposed to be a cocky dickhead. That's Dallas Page's whole angle at this point. I mean, he's good at it.
It seems like that's both of their gimmicks.
Yeah, with Hacksaw, he's trying to do, well, he had been doing for years this everyman, this working class hero, everyman guy, which I for some reason my brain always remembered him as having these intense death matches in Japan. So that becoming him coming back to the States and being I'm a carpenter, that confused me. So maybe that's why because my brain couldn't put those two things together. That's why I was okay, I'm walking away from this.
Is the carpenter the 2x4?
I think that's the only thing I can figure. I can kind of
correlate.
Yeah, that's the only way I can kind of square that circle.
Yeah.
And figure out make that math work, is that they were trying to make him do this he's a carpenter but he's a wrestler also, kind of.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of missed the spot with that.
Yeah, there's a lot they could have done.
It's the mark.
He could have come out with nails and a hard hat. Oh man, they could have done a lot more with Duggan. He should have come out with a whole toolbox.
Yeah, or a tool belt.
Yeah.
What did he just grab out of his pants?
I believe he pulled
tape.
Yeah, he pulled athletic tape out of his crotch and is now taping Hacksaw's legs together after he'd pulled his legs around the ring post. So
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd never seen that done before.
It's kind of funny, if nothing else.
Usually I've seen things that are seemingly a little more durable when you tie people down to stuff. I've seen mostly people get handcuffed to things. That's why I've seen a lot in the WW. Oh yeah, as we get going, you'll see a fistful of times where people get handcuffed to things because it's that now you can't interfere with the match, stuff like that's usually how it goes, but sometimes it doesn't work out.
Of course. See, he purposely put himself there, and it was kind of weird, in between the ropes.
Oh yeah, he was clearly setting up the next move, but some guys are a little smoother with it than others. I don't know if you noticed in the last match when Rey Mysterio spilled out into the out of the ring, he threw a chair sideways, so that him and Psychosis didn't fall into it as he did the suicide dive.
Right. Yeah, I think what was I gonna say? I totally forgot. Never mind.
Oh, it's fun.
Oh yeah, I think like when they're like overselling it and stuff, it bugs me because I feel like they're like helping their opponent, and it like doesn't make sense to me. So it's like it doesn't even fit in the storyline for me. So it's just like that's why I don't like it.
Yeah, that's the kind of the line you have to walk, because you want to make your opponent look like he's actually hurting you. Because if he doesn't look like he's hurting you, then the win doesn't mean anything.
Right, and I agree, but like when it looks like they're helping their opponent, it just like is like okay.
Oh yeah. Where it's like, let me get in the perfect spot for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it dudes, again, as you see, the ones that are really good at it will learn how to do it very subtly.
Right, and I've noticed a difference.
Yeah, or they'll make it look like it's part of just their natural convulsions that puts them in the perfect position for the other guy.
Right.
And hey, I mean, sometimes you'll get times where dudes like literally just get dropped on their heads and they don't know where they are.
Oh God.
And they're just like, wait, where am I? Hang on, oh shoot, I'm in the wrong corner. I'm in the wrong corner.
Pause.
Yeah, exactly. And you see them having to like figure out like, wait, how do I get over to there?
Really?
And make it look. Well, you can. There are times where if you watch closely, you'll almost see the gears turning in their head. Like, how do I get over there and make it look subtle?
That's funny.
And it's sometimes it's funny and sometimes just like, oh, this poor dude. Because again, it's the lights are on and nobody's home and he's trying to get into position.
Right.
Oh, and DDP really selling the fall on his crotch onto the turnbuckle there.
Yeah.
Just really just making all the faces like his kidneys are trying to come up into his throat. No, those are the sells where I feel like you can really go over the top, and I'm okay.
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
a little different.
When the nut shot oversell, I don't think you can oversell that.
Yeah. Pounded him into the ground.
The one thing I did find out from watching these matches, and I'll probably point it out again as we get deeper into it. I maybe it's just a difference in the way that they train, but I do think the WCW guys are really good at making falling out of the ring or sliding out of the ring natural.
Yeah, I will agree with that. I mean, at least what I've seen so far, yeah, it does look natural.
Now, on the other hand, they're terrible at making it look like they're actually getting hurt when they go into the post.
Yeah.
That looks like the lightest little like tap ever, whereas the WWF guys look like they are just like destroying them, like getting destroyed when they run into that post.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right, and as the match wraps up, we see Hacksaw Jim Duggan go to his, and I'm not sure he knocks out DDP with a sucker punch after the match is over.
That's not very well. I was going to say that's not very American of him, but that's super American of him.
Well, it's not the American part of that. Oh yeah, that's absolutely like, oh what? I didn't win. Bam. But no, it's the fact that he's supposed to be a baby face, like he's supposed to be a good guy, and he just sucker punched the bad guy, and the fans are all like, "Yeah, you get him, Hacksaw."
Yeah.
And again, I will say another time, DDP doing a great job selling. He is 100% selling like he got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, he did.
Like the ref is coming over to him, like touching his temple, touching his jaw, like, "Are you all right, Dallas? Can you hear me?"
Right.
So kudos to Diamond Dallas Page for really selling that knockout punch. All right, now we get a promo from Kevin Sullivan, Jimmy Hart. I forgot Jimmy Hart was just managing every heel in the WCW seemingly at this point.
Damn, how is that dude so big though?
Oh, that is Paul White, the Giant. He was actually I think at this point they were promoting him, and like his gimmick was that he was the son of Andre the Giant.
Oh, that's funny.
Because he's obviously such a big fucking dude.
Yeah, it's like so weird to look at.
The one thing I will say while watching this Kevin Sullivan and the Giant promo, I want to apologize to all fans of The Undertaker and The Undertaker himself and the makeup department of the WWF for everything I said about his eyebrows looking like drag queen eyebrows. Because holy Christ, Kevin Sullivan, what the fuck did they do to you, bro?
I just noticed that. Like, those can't be eyebrows.
Those
are
are
like a weird paint on his forehead. It has to be.
It just looks like they put Sharpie in a V on his forehead.
Yeah, that doesn't connect, so it could be eyebrows.
Like, what is he? Is he like in a child's play of a supervillain? Like, what is going on with that?
I don't know. That's a great question, though. I didn't even notice that before.
Because yes, he's a blonde, but like his facial hair is like a dirty blonde, so you can see his eyebrows.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know if they were going for eyebrows.
That is just.
But I don't know what else they would be going for.
Just so bizarre. I don't like. Folks, for those of you who expected us to say about what the Giant was saying and talking about his promo, I'm sorry. Kevin Sullivan's eyebrows are just way too distracting.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if he's gonna have those on later.
Oh yeah. We'll probably see him rub off in the middle of the match. Like they'll look like a check mark at one point.
Yeah. And
then now we go to another promo. This one we get from the two of the Four Horsemen, the new version of the Four Horsemen. So, the Four Horsemen were this like faction during the early days during the early '80s of wrestling. It was Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and a couple other guys that I'm not remembering right now because, again, I only got into wrestling in the '90s. But these two guys are two members of the current Four Horsemen at the time. On the right, again, Arn Anderson, old dude who'd been there from the beginning. And on the left is Chris Benoit. And Benoit, at some point, we'll see if he's been completely scrubbed from all WWF matches. But if he has, at some point, we'll watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode about him because his story is interesting but also tragic.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Because, he, for those of you who don't know, Homeboy from wrestling got a bad case of CTE and then murdered his family.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it was not good. It ripped through the wrestling community, and everyone was like, because apparently, like, even though he played like this super tough guy, apparently before like he made his turn due to CTE. He was just like the nicest guy ever.
Really?
So yeah, that's why his story is pretty tragic.
Yeah, that's sad.
But unfortunately, at this point, from what we found out, he's not that great at promos.
Right.
He'll develop his tough guy attitude a little more down the years, but at this point, the Four Horsemen are really doing him a favor by putting him in.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, do you want to be here and develop with us? And of course you take that job. You're like, yes, learn.
Oh, this dog collar match.
Oh,
this was super
that's
weird.
right. I forgot this was the point where all right, folks. So coming up next in the bill is a four-man dog collar match.
Yeah, we fast-forwarded through this.
Yeah, I think we fast-forwarded through a lot of this, or we just watched it in the background.
Remember they couldn't break the table?
Oh God, yes, that's right. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But first, so as the tag teams come to the ring, because it's a tag team match, but it's not a tag team match at the same time. It's super weird. First off, I want to know how these fools got the name Public Enemy, and Chuck D and Flav Flav didn't say nothing.
Right? I know. It's so bad.
Like, if I was Chuck D and Flav Flav, I would put a hit out on these motherfuckers. Because they are ruining my fucking image.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely trying to rip it off.
Oh, God. And as we've said before, with the Nation of Domination, it is real weird to have this hip-hop tag team group come out, and all these white people are way too into it.
Right.
I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, it's all weird.
I mean, weirder with the Nation because they were a black power group, but even this is just like, wait, what? And then coming out next, one of the weirder footnotes in wrestling history, but a group that, or a tag team pair that people loved, and apparently Hulk Hogan was a fan of, the Nasty Boys.
So weird.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what to make of these fools because both of them never made it out of the WCW, so I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of Southerner people doing these wrestling matches.
Well, because WCW was the before they went nationwide because of Turner, they were the Atlanta promotion.
Oh, okay.
So they were the Atlanta, Georgia, like regional promotion. So that's why they have the fan base that they do, because that was kind of built in.
Well, and the wrestlers that they do.
Well, that as well, but well, kind of, yeah.
That's what I was referencing.
Yeah, they did farm in from a lot of the southern territories, like the Carolinas and Florida, were where they got some of their talent from. But they also did do a lot of scouting internationally, which is why they got all their luchadors and their Japanese dudes that you'll see later, because they were just like, we need to beat WWF. We need to get what we can. And
right, that's cool though.
I mean, to their credit, they did change the game a little bit, but dear God, this fucking dog collar match.
Yeah, it's super weird.
I don't get it. I mean, I get it in theory, because there's a lot of cool things you can do with the chain. But the problem what we found out is that the fucking thing is just rattling the whole time.
Right.
And it really kind of is like, oh great, we get to hear this chain rattle the whole time.
And then it just was not a great match.
Right. It wasn't. I'll go ahead and say that a tag team dog collar or strap match is probably not the best idea.
Or at least crisscross them. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. I think that with two guys, it's not a great idea, because you have way too much to keep an eye on. Like, there's a reason with tag teams that they only have usually one guy in the ring at the time, and then occasionally it'll be all four.
Yeah, which is why they showed it in this weird split screen.
Yeah, to try and keep you, with your eye on both, but it's too much, because it's just minimal action on both sides.
Right.
Like, it's just not that intense either way.
And them trying to break a table and it not happening over and over again.
Yeah, at one point, folks, you see a guy get slammed into the table 2 or 3 times and it doesn't break. Oh God, the Dudley Boys would be ashamed.
Right.
You'll see the Dudley Boys later on. They're known for just being just table destroyers and putting everybody. I mean this semi-literally. Everybody and their mother through a table at one point. Oh, it's fun. I loved it. They were. I couldn't get enough of it when I was. Let's see if I remember when they joined. I was probably 14 or 15 at the time. So as a 14-year-old boy, just seeing everyone get put through a table was wonderful. I loved it. Oh, that's right. I forgot. At one point, they start trying to hit each other with a rubber shark, and the fucking announcer tries to make it sound big, like he's beating a man with a rubber shark.
Right? It's oh.
Really, you really expect us to buy into him taking feeling any pain from getting hit with an inflatable shark? Are you fucking kidding me?
For reals.
That is 100% a announcer fail.
Yeah.
Okay, he's hitting him with a rubber shark. Why make it sound intense?
Right.
You know we're not going to buy that. There's no way you can hit a man with a rubber shark where it's going to do an actual injury to him.
Right.
Unless, the only thing I can think is if you find a way to make him trip over it and he blows out his ACL. That's it. That's the only way you're injuring a guy with a rubber shark.
Right.
But yeah, as back to the ring, we have the cruiserweight title match between Disco Inferno.
That's right.
And Dean Malenko. And I think I remember seeing, I don't know if he was Disco when I saw him a couple times, a year or two, or months / a year or two down the line from this. But yeah, I guess I forgot that they had a guy with a fucking disco gimmick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's okay, I guess.
I just
I don't remember us liking this match that much, did we?
I liked some of it. I liked the technical ability of it and the fact that these guys were clearly going for it. And Disco actually, I'll say it, he works well with Dean Malenko. This is a good, if you're just seeing it on the basis of a match itself, gimmicks aside, characters aside, this is a good technical match.
Right.
Problem is that Disco Inferno is a half-baked character that I don't understand how they thought was going to work in the mid-90s. Other than, like, why would a dude this young be this out of touch? I don't get it.
Was that 70s show happening at that point?
No, this was 96.
Oh.
That 70s show premiered in 1998. So that would be 2 years from now.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I guess they and you have to think that 70s show was part of what brought the whole nostalgia, like, really ripping forward for the 70s. I feel like at this point it was just like everyone just thought it was lame.
That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, it's like, oh, get out of here, Disco, you're lame.
I was like, maybe because like young kids were into that show.
Yeah, but that hadn't premiered yet. And again, I'm surprised that they have a dude this seemingly young looking that is like, this out of touch.
And like soft. Like not like soft like fat, but like Letterkenny, like you're soft.
Oh yeah. Like he's 10 play.
Yeah.
And he has shake your booty on the ass of his fucking pants.
Yeah. I could see a lot of dads being like, no, you can't like him.
I think they were just trying to work this whole heel angle with him where like people don't like Disco, they don't like that he fixes his hair in the middle of a match, like
I feel like he'd be a better babyface.
Maybe. Huh, Disco Inferno as a babyface. That would be
for all the little gay boys that like wrestling.
Oh man, yeah, but again, at this point, they weren't really trying to be allies at this point. They were trying to mess with people on the gay angle.
Right.
Like that's why Goldust was such a interesting heel, cuz he just would like mess with people.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think I said this to you while we were watching it, and I said it during the Luchador match, and I feel like it's happening in this again with this one again. Dean Malenko is working his ass off, and nobody cares.
Yeah, look at that crowd. They're like frowning.
Yeah, that crowd could not care less.
I feel like they're just like not encouraged to like cheer, which I feel like the WWF is probably like. Cheer.
I don't know. There's a little bit of me that feels like maybe these guys they aren't into these wrestlers and they're only into the big names.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into them either, though. I'm like, fast forward.
But I don't know. I feel like
because like no one cares.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a couple like really hardcore fans in the front who are like kind of getting into it, but. Even then, a lot of people are just kind of looking around and like arms crossed, just okay. When's the next one starting?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I like dozed off in this episode or this part. I did doze off in the episode.
Dean Malenko, I'm so sorry. I love you. I think you're talented, even if no one else sees it. No, but I get it. He wasn't that great a promo guy.
Yeah, I just think it's the, like, I don't know, the WWF, like, made me care about the wrestlers, I guess, pretty quickly, where, like, this one, I can tell they're no names.
Wow. Oh, man, you were picking up on it early. This is fun. So, for all of my talk about how much I'm disappointed in the crowd not being into Dean Malenko in that match, the next match between... God, who is it? Joe Gomez and I don't know. We're not even going to talk about it. I really don't care because I don't know who these guys are. The match had nothing really in particular to like notice about it, other than one guy's lip gets cut. Other than that, I don't see a point in talking about this one.
Same.
All right, moving on.
Something we haven't discussed yet is that no one has a sign. So like, I wonder if they weren't allowed to have signs or if it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, they're
in the audience.
I don't know. I mean, it's WCW. I don't see why they would have had rules about signs. So I'm just assuming that they didn't. It wasn't thought of as a thing at the time because you really see it's like it starts to happen in '97 in WWF, but I'm telling you, wait until we get to like '98 and '99. It explodes.
Right,
they're everywhere.
That's why I was surprised not to see any.
Yeah, and once you brought it up to me when we were watching, I was like, oh, That is exactly what it was. That's exactly what's going on. Why are there no signs whatsoever to be seen? Are the people not that into it, or what's going on?
Yeah.
Again, maybe it's just the old school of like, you don't bring signs, you let everyone see.
I guess. I could see that being annoying.
Yeah. And then next up, we have a promo with Miss Elizabeth, Ric Flair, and Woman.
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, Woman, first of off, is just okay.
She's working Mean Gene Okerlund hard.
Yeah, and the camera, like the eyes that she makes directly at the camera. I'm just like, damn, I bet those little boys that were watching this at home were so happy.
Oh yeah. I think I probably knew a few friends who were real into Woman, or they became a man looking at Woman.
Right.
And then of course Miss Elizabeth, former valet and wife of Macho Man Randy Savage. Although I'm not sure if they were actually divorced at this point or if it was just storyline divorced.
I feel like it would be actual divorced if they were going to do that. Like, I don't know. That seems like a good way to break up a marriage if it wasn't already there.
That seems a good way to just put the final death blow to it.
Right.
Now, one thing I do have to say is that this is another example where I don't know if it was throughout the locker room, but clearly Flair was another guy that was dipping into the coke.
For sure.
Like, as he starts getting rolling, you can see the fucking coke take over.
Yeah, and his, like, random woos and stuff that, like, when he just couldn't think of what to say.
Yeah, they become less exclamation points and more commas during this.
That was, like, the weird, like, the places he put them in. It was like, what is happening?
Yeah, it becomes a little bit more, a little less the standard Ric Flair woo exclamation point and a little more get her done, where it's like every third thing he says.
Right. And also, the Elizabeth chick, she looks so uncomfortable throughout this promo, I feel like.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of her working with Ric Flair and with Woman. It seemed to be gilding the lily, if you will, over egging the pudding. Like they were adding too much here.
Well, it would have been fine if she didn't look like she was a hostage.
She definitely looks like, why am I here? Dear God, get me out of this. I'm just trying to gut my way through this.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing it now. The first time I was just like, oh, she's just a little awkward, but no, she's super awkward.
Yeah, like it seems like she does not want to be there.
No, not at all. Not at all. She's just trying to collect that paycheck and go home.
Right.
Try and forget the fact that she, may have invested her life in the wrong career. Oh dear God, I married the wrong man and I followed the wrong career. This has not gone well.
Right. Do they get paid well?
I mean, considering all you have to do is just like walk up to the. I mean, considering it pays decently and you don't have to do what the wrestlers do.
Right. You just you're basically just a model.
Right. Exactly. So I'm sure it paid like what models paid.
Okay. So I mean, probably not livable, but it's cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it depends on how many events you work.
For sure. Anyways.
But yeah, that was of course that promo was the prelude to the U.S. title match between Ric Flair and Conan.
Yep.
Which we both discussed like.
That's right. His cheerleader skirt.
Yeah, his cheerleader skirt of tassels. That was like we both were like the boot tassels cool. The fact that he's got tassels on maybe tassels were just his thing because he's got tassels on the coat, he's got tassels on the boot, he's got tassels on the wrestling bottoms, if you will.
Yeah. Does he have arm cuff tassels as well?
I think he might. I can't remember. Yeah, I think he did, and we were saying like we understand the forearm ones because those when you punch, those give good action. The ones on the legs do, but the ones on the wrestler on the bottoms.
Yeah, it just
makes you look like you're a member of the Palm Squad.
A little bit.
Oh man, I'm still not sure how I feel about this background with like the surfboards and like the beach changing room tents in the back.
Yeah, it's pretty lame.
Like I get they're really trying to hit it home. Well, like yes, we're at the beach, but like
It's pretty lame.
yeah,
Or like I don't know, it just could have been done better, I guess. And then it's like mountains on the back frame
oh, I think those are clouds.
and tree. Oh, they're palm trees.
Yeah, palm trees and clouds.
But it's in black and white, so it's not very beachy.
Yeah. You know what? And now that I'm looking at Miss Elizabeth and Woman, I'm a little thrown by the fact that like Woman looks like very elegant in like this long white dress with a slit up the side and heels, and Miss Elizabeth is in like 60s go-go attire.
I mean,
That's the only way I can describe it.
I would say it matches Flair.
Yeah, I mean...
But yeah, now that you say go, I see what you mean.
Because, like, Miss Elizabeth has, like, go-go boots and, like, almost a mini dress on.
Yeah.
And, again, Woman is, like, ultra classy.
It's all pretty random.
Well, aside from all the cleavage, ultra classy.
And, I mean, he's in all red.
Well, like, yeah, the robe he went from pink to red. But again, that's Flair. He's just a bright color guy.
Yeah, it works. I think we're getting too literal with our like
we might be going too granular with this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Conan doesn't have arm tassels. It's just the leg tassels and again, I agree. It's just I feel like I'm watching a male cheerleader fight.
Yeah, it's weird. Flair also is looking pretty old.
Yeah, he's past his prime at this point.
Like he got old man skin.
Yeah, he's getting some. You can see. I was just about to say you can see some sagginess in places.
It looks thin.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But not like the sagginess of like, oh, he's fat, but just like that skin has gotten old.
Right.
That skin is old and tired.
But hey, he took that flip just now.
Oh, he's still got it. I mean,
Just
technically
looking a little old.
Yeah, exactly. He just doesn't look as magnificent as he did in the 80s. When you 100% understood why, he got all the women he did.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, yeah, good-looking guy, long blonde hair. He's the champion of the world. He parties constantly. Like, yeah.
Makes sense. Does he dye his hair that color? Is it actually?
I think I'm pretty sure he bleaches his hair that color.
Mm. Woman is into this match.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot how intense Woman gets during this match. Like she is screaming at Ric Flair during this match, like "Get up, Rick! Get up!"
Like slamming her hands.
Oh, absolutely. She is living and dying with every little thing that's going on with Ric Flair.
Does she stick with him for a while?
I think she was. I can't remember how many years she was with him, but yeah, she was with him for a good long while. I think she was with him both before and after Miss Elizabeth. Because I think Miss Elizabeth was just, she at one point she was just with whoever Macho Man was feuding with.
Really?
Because of course like both the truth and the storyline was that Macho Man was always in love with Miss Elizabeth.
Oh.
And he always wanted her back.
Oh, that's her ex-husband.
Right, exactly.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it's that was always one of the many questions of wrestling was Macho Man super crazy, insanely devoted and protective of Miss Elizabeth, or was he super crazy and controlling?
Right.
Depending on who you ask, you get different answers.
Does she ever do actual interviews?
I think let me see. She might have passed a while ago. I think she did. Yeah, 2003. So, but yeah. Oh, that's right. She died as a result of acute toxicity on May 1st, 2003.
What does that mean?
She overdosed.
Ah.
A medical examiner listed the cause of death as acute toxicity brought on by a mix of painkillers and vodka.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, folks, that's why you don't mix. That's why you don't mix Percocet with vodka.
Right.
But yeah, she unfortunately that's not an uncommon story in wrestling.
Right. Even for the side people.
Yeah, I guess that's the interesting part is that, because she was a manager, so why? Well, I guess they take their bumps occasionally, but still, usually it's the wrestlers that's how they go.
Right.
Because they finish a match, they take some painkillers, then they go out and they party and then they have a few drinks, and then they're all from the painkillers and the booze, they're half amped up, so they're like, oh, let me take some sleeping pills, that'll help.
Right.
So yeah, when you mix what's the sleeping pill they tell you not to mix with anything?
Most of them.
But what's the one that most people are like, oh, I can do it, it's not a problem?
Xanax.
Not Xanax.
Ambien.
Ambien, yeah. So yeah, it's like all those people who are like, yeah, I'll take a Percocet and then I'll have 4 shots of vodka and then I'll take an Ambien and I'll be fine. And they're like, no, that's literally what they tell you 100% not to do.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 things they tell you not to mix. Do not mix painkillers and sleeping pills. Do not mix painkillers and booze. Do not mix booze and sleeping pills.
For reals.
And when you do all 3, that's yeah, that'll get you.
Yeah.
And of course, when you add to that the fact that a good chunk of these guys are doing blow before they get in the ring.
It's
so
a lot.
Coke plus painkillers plus booze plus sleeping pills. Yeah. Good night.
Yeah. So now what?
Yeah, I think it's time to move on from here because we again another time we've ran out of stuff to say because these matches were they were all right.
Yeah.
Again, the funniest part that we found was the promo where Rick is just trying to hold it together, but not doing so well. After that match between Ric Flair and Conan, we have the tag team match of Benoit and Anderson versus the Giant and Kevin Sullivan. And of course, first we see Benoit and Arn come out and I guess I'm realizing again, fair share of bald guys in this match.
Yeah, they all either have a mullet or they're bald.
Yeah. Oh, and here come the opponents of Arn, Benoit, fucking Sullivan, and the Giant just coming out throwing fists out the gate.
I feel like it's just so ridiculous how tall he is compared to everyone else.
Oh,
it's just how is that believable that anyone could take him down?
And especially next to his partner Kevin Sullivan, who's probably 5'7".
I feel like it should be 2-on-1. That would be more fun.
Oh, absolutely. And oh my God, there's just so much about Kevin Sullivan that I'm like, what is going on with this? Who told this man that he needed to keep that ponytail?
Yeah. And then paired with whatever's on his forehead.
God, those eyebrows. There's
Are they lightning bolts? Is that what they're supposed to be? Because that's what's on his leotard.
Maybe, but they're so crudely drawn.
Yeah, I bet that's what it's I bet that's what he's going for.
Maybe. Let me see. I'm getting a little better look now. No, I don't know. Those just look like 2 stripes drawn on with Sharpie.
He probably did it himself.
Oh God, or he had Jimmy Hart doing it in the back. Come on, Jimmy, just real quick, brother. I got a Sharpie. Let's make this happen.
Has it already rubbed off?
No, again, if it's Sharpie, that's gonna be on there for a while.
Yeah, his hair is terrible.
God, that's probably why he made all these bad decisions. All that ink fucking blotted through to his brain.
Seriously.
Because if you Sharpie over the same spot long enough, that stuff gets in there, and I feel like that ink got through to his brain. Because I don't what am I supposed to believe about this, that this man can fight?
I don't know.
I guess you could say he makes really bad decisions and has no regard for himself because of how he's dressed.
They're totally gone now.
Who's totally gone?
They are the eyebrows.
Oh, are they? Are they already rubbed off?
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna have to take a look when he pops back up. Oh yeah, I can see it. There. Wow. So maybe they didn't put him on with Sharpie. Let's see. We'll get a good look as he tumbles out of the ring here.
I feel like the cameras don't want us to see his like
Oh
face.
yeah, they don't want us to see how terrible he looks right now. God, and his not only does he have a blonde skullet ponytail, it's not even doing that well right now. Like it's all over the place.
It's yucky. Why is it so stiff?
Probably because he doesn't condition it and he just puts it in a ponytail after he gets out of the shower every day.
It's gross.
Like, think about how little care white trash girls take of their hair when it looks like that. And then think about a 40-year-old white trash dude not taking care of his hair like that.
Yeah, I suppose. All these, like, oh my god, these guys, like, look sad.
Specifically Arn and Sullivan.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell Benoit and Paul White, the Giant, like, you can tell they're going to have careers after this.
Yeah. Does he?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember if Benoit becomes champion, but I think Paul White does at one point. But he becomes known as the Big Show. But yeah, he has a really solid career in the WWF, even though for a while they didn't know what to do with him because they're just like, who do we put against this massive human being?
I mean, the Undertaker, right?
He did have some good matches with Taker. I think he had a couple good matches with The Rock because at that point everybody was having good matches with The Rock because that's when he had figured it out.
Right.
And it was just like, put him like, this was when The Rock was like super cool and was like, yeah, I'll wrestle with whoever. Let's go. If we're gonna have a good match, let's get it. So
didn't Andre the Giant have like a disease or something that made him like so tall and stuff?
Yeah.
And that's why he died young?
Yep.
So is that guy on the right, is he just like a really big, massive dude? Or does he have like what Andre had?
He actually had what Andre had. They had the same disease where I guess it's like a tumor on your pituitary gland. So you just keep growing and growing and growing until your body literally can't contain it anymore. But thankfully for Paul White, when he was 19 and playing college basketball, his head coach was like, hey, listen, I'm pretty sure you have what Andre had. Now there's a surgery for it, so you don't have to die at 42.
Okay, so
they just went in there and like scraped a tumor off his pituitary gland when he was 19, and that's why he's only 7'2".
Only,
or maybe he's 7'1". I can't remember. I would think it was what was it, WWE Treasures? I think I was watching the other day, where I guess Paul White as a kid, because he'd seen Andre the Giant, I guess in the 80s, did this honeycomb commercial. Where he like busts in the kids like treehouse. He's like, I want the honeycomb. Okay. And like Paul White lost his mind over it and like begged his mom to buy honeycomb for him because he was convinced that like the 12 vitamins and nutrients in the honeycomb were going to make him as big as Andre the Giant.
That's funny.
And he was like, little did I know that was predetermined.
Right.
Little did I know I was going to be a big boy no matter what.
Coincidentally.
But I just think that's hilarious that he was like, as a kid, like convinced, like, I need to be big like Andre the Giant, and the only way I'm going to do it is if I eat honeycomb cereal.
That's funny.
The stupid shit we believed as children.
Yeah.
Hey, I got good advertising, I guess.
I feel like I don't even see that cereal anymore.
Honeycomb, you do occasionally. They don't advertise it as much.
Yeah.
I feel like they realize like there's so much other stuff that the kids like.
Right.
Or maybe they just realized that Honey Nut Cheerios was taking all their money. They're like, why are we going to compete with that bee?
Yeah, I can't say because I'm not sure, but yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm a Honey Nut Cheerios man.
I mean, I don't think I've ever had honeycombs.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to find a way to. Well, first I'm gonna have to buy honeycomb, but then we're gonna have to eat it while we watch that Andre the Giant commercial.
Oh, I'm sure we can find that on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I might play it right after this, and then make it a common thing that we do is just we watch that ad. Oh man, maybe I should at one point I should just find all of the weird ads that wrestlers have been in.
I'm sure you could find a compilation.
Oh, I'm sure. I know there's a ton of stuff Hogan's done.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then of course, the Macho Man did all those Slim Jim ads.
Right.
So that's a good chunk of it. I'm trying to think who else prior to the Attitude Era with WWF, because I mean, oh man. Maybe that's another special episode we should do, where we should just go through all of the ads that wrestlers have been in.
We should,
because I know that there's a fistful that the WWE guys were in during the Attitude Era, like The Rock and I think Mankind did a couple weird ones if memory serves. Undertaker probably did something for something scary.
Halloween.
Yeah, some Halloween thing, I'm sure. But yeah, I know they worked all those guys. Stone Cold, I can't remember what they advertised him. I know they had him do the talk show circuit a lot.
Really?
Oh yeah, they had him like give weird stare downs to Regis and like, "Hey, better not piss me off, Regis. I'm gonna stomp a mud hole in you."
Oh god.
You know, that kind of thing. Oh, I forgot about this sad catapult that Kevin Sullivan tries to do with Arn. So, guys, for those of you who aren't wrestling fans, a catapult is kind of when you grab another wrestler by his like ankles and like rock in a direction so that you kind of catapult his body towards a certain direction. And Kevin Sullivan tried to initiate this move with Arn Anderson, and it was just like this sad stop-start, and then he falls into the turnbuckle. Like, I guess the best way I can describe it for those of you who have ever seen it, it looks like the wrestling version of Charles Barkley's golf swing. Like super chunky and uncoordinated. And these are men that have been in this industry for a decade or more.
Yeah, it was definitely bumpy.
Oh, it was so sad to see. It was just like, both of these guys need to give it up after that. Like, if you can't do a catapult into the turnbuckle after this long in wrestling, like, come on, guys, what are you doing?
Right.
Because it was literally like Arn went from like leaning back to crouching to standing to jumping.
Yeah.
In 4 distinct movements.
Yeah, it was really weird.
With no smoothness between them whatsoever. All right. Well, I'm glad we had enough ridiculousness to say to get through this match. Or maybe they took mercy on us and had this match not go that long.
Well, I mean, it's still going.
Oh, no, they finished.
They did?
Yeah, the Giant just slammed, I don't know if it was Benoit or... No, it wasn't Benoit. Oh, no, Benoit and Sullivan are still fighting is what's going on. But officially, the Giant slammed Arn Anderson, choke-slammed Arn Anderson in the middle of the ring, pinned him, and then the match is over. So at this point, this is just... Apparently, Benoit hates Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd hate a man with a skullet this much. Clearly, life has already hated him.
Right.
But Benoit wants to continue to do damage.
Because he's tough.
Yeah, he's an angry. That's his MO still at this point. Is he's an angry dude. Maybe this is the first sign of the insanity that caused him to kill his family.
Oh God.
This is the first sign that this is what it takes to snap a man.
It's bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. R.I.P. his family. As opposed to shout out to the family.
Right.
But anyway, now for some reason, woman comes out and decides to get involved in all of this, being technically a member of the Four Horsemen.
Oh.
Or being, Ric Flair's valet, who is a member of the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, I got it.
And now Sullivan's just destroyed in the middle of the ring, because why wouldn't he be? Oh, that's right, I forgot. At this point, to show how just defeated and destroyed Sullivan is, the Giant is now carrying him over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes to the back.
Yeah.
I don't know, sack of potatoes, King Kong style, however you want to call it. He's got the little man over his shoulder.
Yep.
All right, on to the next. The 6-man tag team match between the Macho Man Randy Savage, Sting, Lex Luger, and the team of Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and the unnamed third member of the Outsiders and the Invasion crew, who we will find out during this match.
Right.
Well, what am I saying? You'll find out if you watch this match. We realized as it happened, or you realized when it happened. We find out it's Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And that this is the infamous Hogan, the infamous Hogan heel turn.
Yeah, they've been prepping this the whole episode.
Yeah, they really have, and they're giving this one from the looks of it the full half hour on this one. So they're giving you an extra long match on this one, but it's the main event. That's what you'd expect. And I don't know if this is when Michael Buffer started working with WCW, but I think it was around this time. Just again another instance of billionaire Ted just fucking opening the checkbook. Just doling out money to whoever he thinks will get eyes on screens.
Hey, it worked.
And well, yeah, man. I mean, at this point, it was still about legitimacy. They were still trying to become like actual professional wrestling and not just wrestling.
Right.
Because they'd gotten rid of a lot of the dudes with southern accents that were doing the color and the play-by-play, and then they got Michael Buffer to do the ring announcing for the big matches.
They're sophisticated and they wear bow ties.
Exactly. We're professionals now, damn it. This is a real wrestling promotion. Quit trying to say we don't have money and we're doing this on the cheap.
Right. Although this episode seems real cheap.
Which is because they spent all the money on the talent.
Right.
They didn't spend any money on the actual like set decorators or any of the editors or any of the pyro guys. Like, screw it, we'll just put some sand on there.
It's funny.
Like literally all of the money went into like these two guys and Hulk Hogan's paychecks.
I feel like they kind of messed up there.
At the time, it worked for them, but then over the course of like 3 or 4 years, yeah, that would backfire.
It didn't age well.
No, it didn't, because they realized like, oh no, we put it's like pro baseball or pro football teams that like they put all of their money into like their middle linebacker or their center fielder that hits home runs when he's 32, and then 5 years later they're like, oh no, why don't we have money for a team?
Right.
Oh, because you fucking gave all your money to Miguel Cabrera, idiot. Detroit Tigers, I love you, but that was a terrible decision. We all know it. But yeah, that's what I mean. Again, it was great to get him in the door because you told all these guys, "Hey, man, do you want to work half as many days for twice as much money?" And they said, "Fuck yeah!"
Right. I mean, that's a good deal.
Oh yeah, it's a great deal. But 4 years later, you're like, "Oh, we gave all these guys creative control and millions of dollars, and now we don't know. Now we don't know what to do to write ourselves out of this corner."
Whoops.
Because all these guys have stipulations that we can't take off. We can only take the belt off them under these circumstances.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, it got ridiculous. But again, hey, it worked for a few years to get him in the door.
Right, and he got a good payout.
Oh yeah, all these guys made real nice money. Only problem is that a lot of it went up their nose.
Right, that's a personal problem.
Yeah, like, oh man, I think he saved enough of it, but like there were times where dude with dark hair on the right, Scott Hall, where he was a mess.
Really?
Yeah, there are some points where the WWF tried to bring him back and have him do some matches, and like there are times where you can clearly see he is fucked up.
Oh gosh.
Like on a combination of booze and pills.
That's unfortunate.
But yeah, thankfully, before he passed a few years ago, he was one of the many guys that Diamond Dallas Page got clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he was in a wheelchair when he showed up at Dallas's place.
Oh,
and then
really?
by the end, you're like, holy shit, he looks like a normal guy.
Dang. Why was he in a wheelchair?
Just because of all of the pain he was in.
Oh.
Like all the pain in his knees and ankles, and he could like barely stand. But I guess because from A, getting him clean, and B, just exercising with him and doing a lot of yoga, he'd gotten a lot of mobility back in his legs. So he was, I think by the end, he was just like, yeah, well, I use a cane occasionally because my back's kind of fucked up from the years of wrestling.
Right.
But, considering he went from wheelchair to cane, that's a massive improvement.
Yeah.
So, and now we see the intro of the the defenders of the WCW, as the announcers go. I love how they just, this is like almost like a holy war between the two.
That's interesting.
Even though, again, like they tried to play it as like, oh, these outsiders are coming from the WWF to take over, even though they were totally under contract.
Right.
Like under contract the entire time, like with WCW, and I think there literally had to be a point where they had to come on air and say, no, we are not employed by the WWF in any way, shape, or form.
Oh my gosh, they're plants.
Well, I think because like at one point they had to make it clear, otherwise they would be like infringing on the WWF. And actually at one point the WWF sued WCW over certain things that Scott Hall was doing in ring.
Really?
Because it was too much like his previous character that WWF had a trademark on.
That's nitpicky.
Like he couldn't, like I think he couldn't have toothpicks in his mouth anymore and throw them at people because that was a Razor Ramon thing.
Oh, that's funny.
And like certain things, like I think it was just certain phrases that he couldn't say because
they owned him,
because they owned the character, and those things were part of the character,
right?
And literally a judge was like, yeah, absolutely, you're infringing on the trademark because that's a character owned by this company.
That's funny.
So yeah, it was nuts. Well, the crazier thing was that the WWF actually, like, they got so weird and drunk on power, they tried to literally turn two random wrestlers into new versions of these guys' same characters.
Really?
Yeah, like they made a new Diesel and Razor Ramon, and the fans hated it.
Oh gosh.
Because they're like, "What are you doing?
Right?
You're just like, we know this. We know this isn't Diesel and Razor. We know this." And I think it lasted for like 2 to 3 weeks, or like maybe a month tops.
Was it with different people?
Yeah, different wrestlers.
Oh god.
Yeah, they tried to do it with new wrestlers and just pass them off as the same character.
Yeah, it's not good.
One of them, though, would actually... Well, I can't remember what the fake Razor did, but fake Diesel actually went on to be another character that did really well.
Really?
Yeah. When he debuts, I'll let you know. But yeah, thankfully he bounced back. There's a lot of cases. Like, that's why wrestling fans don't get too weird about failed gimmicks, because there's so many dudes, like... It's rare that a dude hits with his first gimmick.
Yeah.
Or even, like, there's some times where they don't hit with their first, or, like, they'll hit with their first one, but then the second one flops.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of noticed that.
Like, it seems like every dude has a flop of a character in his history.
Right.
But it always seems to make guys, A, learn the business, and B, appreciate it when a gimmick does hit.
Right. So do they have to make up their own gimmicks, or like are the gimmicks given to them?
Usually their first gimmick, when they're coming up, that they'll figure out themselves. Or if they don't figure out the gimmick, they'll design the character themselves.
Okay.
And the costume. Now, once they get up to WCW and WWF level, then a lot of times the writing department will come up with something for them. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's terrible.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin in his documentaries like goes over like some of just the terrible nicknames or some of the terrible names they tried to give him with his gimmick, and some of them are just insane.
Really?
Yeah, they're all like a lot of them are like ice themed.
Oh gosh.
Like Mr. Freeze and Otto Von Cool and just really weird ones like that.
That's interesting.
But yeah, then thankfully he was, I guess I don't know if it was him and his wife or just him was watching a documentary about a killer for hire for the mob. And you know, he was stone cold. So he's like, that's it. That's my thing.
I feel like if they make it up themselves, they should be able to take it with them to, like, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of dudes do take their old gimmicks with them or continue to use them. It just depends on how good it is.
And they won't get sued.
Well, if it's there, because usually it depends on I guess how you transition over from your old wrestling federation.
Oh, okay.
Like if the old company like buys out your contract and your character, which like if it's the WWF and WCW, a lot of times they'll do that. Where they'll just say, "Hey, we're gonna buy the whole fucking thing.
Okay.
We're gonna take everything about him with us." in some cases, like Nash and Hall going to WCW, WWF will say, "Hell no, you're not taking the character with you. That's our fucking character. Fuck you."
Right.
So it depends guy to guy.
Makes sense.
But yeah, like Lex Luger, he was known as both during when he was with WCW and WWF. He was always Lex Luger. Whereas Nash and Hall, again, one was Diesel, one was Razor Ramon, and then once they came to WCW, they started going by their actual names.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, as the story that they're building is that Lex Luger had to get taken out to the back on a stretcher because the outsiders are that brutal. And they're just straight up fucking just wrecking dudes. But Sting is not taking any of it. Because Sting was, he was almost always a WCW guy.
Really?
Yeah, he didn't come over to WWF until after the merger.
Oh, okay.
Like, until the company was bought out, he stayed. Like, he was a loyal employee, man.
And they kept him like he was good enough?
Oh, yeah. He was one of WCW's top guys, so WWF was psyched when he came over.
Oh, okay.
Especially because he changes his... He was one of the dudes that really did change with the times. Because right now, you see him, he's super colorful, he's high-flying. As the NWO got going, he essentially became this... I don't know if you've ever seen The Crow.
I don't think so.
It's the big with the goth community. It's about a dude who gets murdered and he comes back from the dead to like defend his fiance. I think that's the storyline. I've only seen it once. Now that I think of it, but he's in like a white face paint. He's in fucking black leather. Very cool looking.
Okay.
But he redid his character and it was very influenced by that. And what he would do is he rarely had matches. You would just see him like hiding out in the rafters of venues and every once in a while when the NWO would get out of control, he'd just like show up at the ring with a baseball bat.
Oh gosh.
And just start taking dudes out. So it was a cool gimmick.
Yeah.
And then they kind of brought that over when he went to the WWF of just this. He went from being, high flying and very charismatic and over the top to very brooding. And, so it was a cool transition to see.
Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, right now he's still in his I guess for lack of a better term, his hypercolor days. Everything's fucking bright and shiny.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember a time before this or a time after this where that scorpion is rainbow colored on his tights there.
Yeah.
It's usually either white or red.
Really?
Yeah, because at one point, because the NWO kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Like they keep adding more members, and then at one point they split, and there's like the NWO Hollywood and the NWO Wolfpack.
Oh, okay.
So it gets ridiculous.
Interesting.
So again, it was just because they at one point they were like, oh fuck, everybody's in the NWO now.
Right.
We have too many. We put too many. The writers are like, we put too many of them in here. What do we do? Oh, well, what if we have them have an internal division? Okay, right. That'll milk another 6 months out of this storyline. Sweet. But yeah, once that started happening, that was actually kind of the beginning of the end for WCW. Because at that point, that was them jumping the shark.
Right. That makes sense.
So since we're getting into this, and this is the first time you've really seen a lot of these wrestlers go at each other because they're WCW guys. What'd you think of the match itself?
It was good. It was entertaining. Kind of the same as how I feel about all of them.
Okay, fair enough. It's a good match, but if you're not super invested in the storyline, it does drag a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just a lack of investment into all of them.
Well, I think Sting is really showing a little bit of everything, but like I feel like the other two guys probably should have had outside writers, because you can kind of tell that those two guys were like, yeah, it'd be really cool if I could kick him in the head then. Like, they just kind of want to show off how badass they are. They're not really telling the most cohesive story.
Right.
Because they're like, yeah, we'll just wail on Sting, make him look terrible. But hey, I mean, Sting's willing to put him over and really do the yeoman's work here.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I'm watching this, I'm realizing that we really didn't get, or that I should say, Sting is really doing most of the work here for his side, because Luger went out early. Macho's really not doing much.
Right, you've barely seen him.
Yeah, they brought him a little bit, so Sting is really the one that's working with these two guys.
Yeah.
So mad props to Sting. He's just, and I haven't seen him like miss a mark or botch anything yet. He's hitting everything.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Like, you can tell he's really working.
Yeah.
And now they're doing that's right. This is the Sting's dodging. He's too fast for him.
Right.
Just showing Sting's got that willpower and quickness and talent. But again, he's been working hard all match. I can't fault them for them doing this now.
Right.
Oh, that's right. You know, now you're seeing Macho Man doing his trademark axe handle hits from the top rope.
Oh yeah.
So essentially, like just trying to club him as he jumps off the top rope is the, which it kind of looks cool.
Yeah, he hits the ground so fast though. It's like the effect is kind of.
Well, it's a bummer that you I don't think you get to see him hit the flying elbow, because that actually he does make look really cool.
Mm.
But of course, as the damage is done, we see Hulkster come out.
Yep.
Seemingly to help the good guys. Rips his shirt immediately.
Yeah, he's baby oiled up.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure McMahon taught him that trick.
Oh yeah.
Because again, the muscle. Oh, that's it. Then of course it does it right away. Hits Macho with the leg drop, and lets everybody know he is the third man. And I love that dude with the ECW shirt in front is like, hell yeah.
Right.
And there's actually a good, see that I'd never seen this promo or this pay-per-view all the way through. I'd only seen it in bits and chunks. So I never realized before watching this that there's like an entire row of dudes who are losing their shit over Hogan turning heel. Like, they are into it.
Yeah, the crowd is definitely more excited.
Yeah, like there are some, like you can tell there's some people who don't know what's going on, and you can tell, like, as the refs are saying, like, there's probably some kids crying in the audience. They're like, "Hulk, how dare you? Why would you do this?" But like the dudes who are in their 20s and are like hardcore wrestling fans are like, they're digging it.
Right.
As those in the know would say, the smarts are really really on board with this storyline.
Yeah.
All the dudes who know, it's like who were waiting for something like this are like, yes. Yes, Hulkster's been a good guy for decades. Let's do this. I am on board.
Nice change up.
Oh yeah, because I mean, it's like Superman turning villain.
Right.
Like, this is some great story work. Oh, and here comes the garbage. And again, this one I'd always seen how much was, or that stuff was getting thrown, but didn't realize how much they threw into the ring.
Oh.
Like, it's a lot that's coming out.
Yeah. What is that last thing?
What last thing?
That's on the ground right now. Like, what is that?
Oh, I think those have got to be just a combination of all the concessions. Like, those look like water bottles and like the cups that you get that they put, or the cups that the concession cups.
Mm.
So yeah, like Coke cups and water bottles and like burger wrappers and Like anything that's the size of about a fist, they're letting it fly. Oh, and I love that Hogan immediately just really goes into it, turning heel, and just lets Mean Gene know, you got to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I have to say.
Right. He knows what he wants.
Oh yeah, he can feel it, and so he's just really milking it.
Right.
And I'm sure he's got to be loving it because he was getting mediocre reactions for months before this. So to get such a massive reaction as this has just got to be awesome.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It's like, yes, I'm back, baby.
Right.
Because he's like, he's used to getting pops like this, but for being a hero. So the fact that he's like, oh, okay, I'm getting this to start as a villain. Here we go.
Fresh start.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that's what Hogan was thinking as soon as this came. He was probably high-fiving these guys the second they got backstage. Mm-hmm. He was like, hell yeah, brother. The career's back.
Right.
Hulkamania's dead, but the NWO is alive and well.
Yeah.
And I love that, again, he's just turning heel in all the classic ways. Like, I was great. I made WWF what it is, and then I came here because I'm amazing. I'm going to make this great. You all should be so happy I'm here. You all should. I'm getting paid because I'm the greatest.
Oh gosh.
Oh, and that's right. He also mentions in this promo that Ted promised him the greatest matches ever, and he promised him movie deals and all this shit, and he's just like, like, here we go.
It's constant lying.
Oh yeah. Well, but this is his heel lying now. This is him trying to build up what an arrogant like asshole he is, so that the fans hate him.
So it's perfect.
Oh yeah, he is doing this. He is executing this perfectly. I have to give this to Hogan. He executed this heel turn so well.
Right.
And then the fact that, like, once they start telling, like, he's like, oh, they're with me, we're gonna take over. For me, the cherry on top is right now when Mean Gene tells him about, like, oh, look at all this garbage in the ring. This is what the future holds for you. All these people hating you and telling you exactly what they think. And Hogan responds with, you know what? All this garbage in the ring represents these garbage fans out here.
Oh damn.
So just hey, let me put the cherry on top by just pissing all over the fans.
That's pretty good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's, again, classic stuff. And that's why, again, dude in the ECW shirt is clapping. He's applauding. He loves this. He's like, bro, you are healing it up right now. This is great. Because all these people never thought they'd see Hulk Hogan be a heel.
Right.
They never thought they'd see Hulk Hogan be a villain. So these dudes who are not only seeing Hulk Hogan be a villain, but seeing him crush it as a villain, they're losing their minds right now.
Yeah.
They are, again, that's why Homeboy in the front in the ECW shirt is loving this.
Mm-hmm.
As same with the people like 3 or 4 rows behind him, all those dudes are like, yes,
right.
This is a new chapter of wrestling.
Yeah.
But hey, I would agree. I think this is what began the postmodern era of wrestling.
Yeah.
I think just the fact that you could completely demolish the past of Hulkamania by starting the NWO, that's what I think started postmodern wrestling.
Mm.
Some other people say it's the Austin 316 promo, but hey, whatever you want to call it, go for it. But yeah, that is gonna be where the whole thing ends with the creation of the NWO. So, Sarah, any final thoughts?
I mean, I could have lived not seeing that, but it was fine.
Again, I will say it again as I did at the beginning of the podcast. I'm sorry I made you do this. I'm sorry I've subjected you to this. I was told it would be better.
It's okay.
Yeah, as far as on my end, my final thoughts are, there's a reason WWF won the war.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this shows to me a lot of the things that people complained about WCW about, that it was way too top heavy, even though they did have some good matches that clearly these fans didn't deserve.
Right.
But for all of you WCW fans that try and talk trash about WWF and all their stipulation matches and the fact that, oh, Vince Russo brought it over and ruined it, fools, the WCW was doing that shit before Vince Russo showed up, so don't even fucking try that.
Right.
Fucking dog collar match. Good God. Roll a sock in a fucking roll of quarters in a sock. Fuck out of here.
Right.
But yeah, WCW fans, I did enjoy it a little, so take it with a grain of salt. I know I shit on on one of your prouder pay-per-views, but dear God, there was some weird shit in there.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
All right, fans, a couple quick notes I wanted to leave you guys with this week. First, if you want to get in contact with us, you can reach us by email at holybleepbabe@gmail.com. Once again, that's holybleepbabe@gmail.com. Also, the searchable name of the podcast is going to be changing to make it a little bit easier for you guys. It's simply going to be Holy Bleep Babe. That's HOLYBLEEPBABE. That's Holy Bleep Babe. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let your friends know we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you'd like to get your podcasts at. Spread the news about us, and because we are a growing podcast, and of course we can't grow without you. So thanks so much for listening again, guys. We'll see you next week when we watch Canadian Stampede. So until then, have a great week.